Hi, and welcome to Fostering Conversations. This is a podcast where we share the real stories of real children navigating the real foster care system in Southwest Missouri. We work at CASA of Southwest Missouri. CASA stands for Court Appointed Special Advocates. We stand alongside children while they experience the foster care system. My name is Shelby Blakely. I'm our training coordinator.
My name's Hannah Wilford, and I'm one of our Greene County Advocate Supervisors and our Early Childhood Specialist.
So today we're going to share a story about a local child, and we're just going to honor that space for them and learn.
Yeah. This is a kiddo. This is a real story that happened about 2 years ago, and it was 4 siblings that were taken from everything they had ever known. Their home was more shadows than light, unsanitary, unstable, and scarred by the grip of addiction. Their mother, though she loved them, was drowning. There was no steady job, no safe home, no working vehicle to get the kids to school. The house was infested with roaches and covered in mold, but it was the only place they had ever known as home. Mm-hmm. On top of the housing conditions, a hotline report was made with serious concerns involving the father, allegations of sexual abuse, exploitation, and the distribution of child pornography. Over the next year, the siblings were moved from home to home, sometimes together, but often apart. There were foster homes that meant well, but did not understand trauma or triggers. There were foster parents who simply could not manage the behavioral needs, the speech delays, the nightmares, or the tears that came without warning.
What are some examples, just because I'm curious, of some of like the behavioral needs that would be too extreme?
Yeah. So we see a wide range of behavioral needs, to be completely honest. The lower level ones look like tantrums, emotional outbursts, and that's just because a lot of the kids that we work with have been through such traumas that they can't vocalize everything that they've been through.
Sure.
And so it comes out in their little bodies in so many different ways. Some of the bigger horror stories that we've heard, there was one kiddo who took a container of kitty litter and dumped it down the toilet. And so those people had to have their septic tank replaced. And there was another incident where the kiddo had climbed up to the top of a bunk bed and spider monkeyed off onto their foster parent. But those are like the extremes. Okay. We don't see those that often. It really looks like the emotional outbursts. It can look like hitting, running, like we see running away every once in a while. And that's just because they truly don't know how to process those and they just need to flee.
Totally.
So
okay. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Okay. So, there were visits with the mother, some full of hope, others missed entirely, each one leaving a mark. In the middle of the chaos, one person never wavered. Her name was Martha, their CASA volunteer. She wasn't a therapist, a foster parent, or a social worker. She was a volunteer, someone who chooses to walk beside these children simply because they mattered. Martha showed up for everything, every hearing, every foster placement change, every school meeting. She noticed when the 2 youngest children's speech struggles weren't being addressed. She pushed for evaluations. She fought for IEPs for the youngest children, and she advocated not just for services, but for individualized care that honored who they were and not just what they had been through. She was the voice in rooms too busy to listen, the calm in meetings filled with acronyms and decisions. When there was meltdowns at school, she didn't judge, she just understood. When they stopped trusting adults, Martha kept showing up. After years, Mom continued to use methamphetamine. She never obtained stable housing or a job. She just told these kids that she loved them so much, but addiction won every time.
How common is that?
So in the county that we live in, 3 of every 10 children that come into care are in care due to parental substance abuse. So a big majority of the numbers that we see is neglect due to substance abuse. And that's countywide. But then for the state of Missouri, 50% of the children that are in care is due to parental substance abuse.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and it's not just alcohol.
No.
It's methamphetamine.
It's methamphetamine. I feel like fentanyl is a really big one right now just because it's a big one everywhere.
Sure.
And yeah. So I would say we see methamphetamine a lot.
Yeah. Do we support these parents while they're while we're taking care of their children, and what does that look like? Yeah,
so we have a lot of rehabilitation centers in Southwest Missouri.
Yeah.
And so that's inpatient, outpatient, day treatment programs.
Oh, cool.
And so we continue to see the kids while the parents are getting treatment,
Sure.
even if they are doing inpatient and they're not seeing their kids, we continue to see them. And then another really cool thing about a lot of the inpatient treatment programs is that their kiddos can come and see them even while they are inpatient once they've gotten past that detox point. So yeah, visits don't have to stop just because they're getting help.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So
we
it's
want
really
them to
cool.
get that
Yes,
help.
we want them to get that help, and we want their kids to see that like they can get help and that good things are possible.
Yeah,
So,
totally.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah,
Sorry.
of course. No. She never obtained stable housing or a job. She told these kids that she loved them so much, but addiction won every time. Now, Dad, on the other hand, was being charged federally and would not get out anytime soon. Then came the turning point, the home that felt different. A couple opened their home to all four siblings. It wasn't easy. There were big emotions, setbacks, and deep trust wounds, but they leaned in with love, not judgment. They didn't want to just foster these kids, they wanted to raise them. They became bedtime readers, homework helpers, therapists in training, and fierce protectors. They made space for grief, celebrated small wins, and loved each child in spite of their past, but with deep respect for it. What made this family even more extraordinary was their approach to the children's mother. They didn't see her as the enemy, they saw her as a human being. Someone who had struggled, yes, but someone whose children still carried pieces of her in their eyes, their laughter, and their hearts. They invited her in, not as a threat, but as a presence. With boundaries, support, and love, they built a relationship where the kids didn't have to choose between the mom who gave them life and the parents who gave them stability. And through it all, Martha, their CASA, was still there. For every court date, every IEP meeting, every tearful call from the foster mom, every shared smile over a good report card, she wasn't going anywhere. And finally, after 1,000 days in care, adoption day came.
Can you tell me, is that a normal time frame? That's what, 3+ years?
Yeah, about 2.5, 3 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at least for our CASAs, we ask for at least a 2-year commitment because for Greene County specifically and the statutes that we follow, the first year of every case is reunification no matter what.
Sure.
And so it's very parent focused. We want them to be stable. So then that way they're stable for their child.
Yeah.
And then once that 1-year mark happens, if enough progress hasn't been made that reunification still seems possible, they will switch it to a more child-focused goal, which means either adoption, guardianship, and a lot of times they do concurrent plans.
Sure.
So it can be reunification with a concurrent plan of guardianship if it's a family member, or things like that. And so I would say that 2.5 years is a pretty typical time frame that our kiddos see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks. That's a long time.
I know. The courtroom was filled with smiles, nervous energy, and a whole lot of love. When the judge asked if the family was ready to make it forever, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. Front row, center was Martha, tissues in hand, her heart full. She had stood by these children through the darkest moments of their lives, and now she was there for the brightest. After the adoption was finalized, Martha whispered to one of the children, "You did it. You made it through." And they looked back at her with a rare open smile and said, "We did it."
Oh.
I know. Because they were right. It took all of them. A mother who never stopped loving, a CASA who never stopped advocating, and an adoptive family who never stopped showing up. This isn't the end of their story, but it's a new chapter. One with birthday parties and bedtime stories, report cards and soccer games. One where the kids now know they're safe, cherished, and never alone. We've talked about how Martha made a difference in these kids' lives, but in reality, we didn't talk about how much they changed hers. These children taught her that even in the darkest moments, there's still joy. They showed her what resilience looked like and reminded Martha that while we can be strong, we're never meant to face this life alone. Martha stated that being a CASA volunteer is the best decision she has ever made, and she will forever be grateful that these children allowed her to be a small part of their story.
Oh,
I know.
How sweet. Oh, I love a good happy ending.
Yes.
That's a good one. And so the bio mom will still be a part of like this journey for them, but not as their mom.
Yeah. So something cool that has been brought into Missouri, or at least our county recently, is something called a PACA, and it stands for Post-Adoption Contact Agreement. And so a lot of times when adoption happens, there has to be a TPR hearing, which means termination of parental rights. And that's where that parent loses all rights to those children. And so with a PACA, the parents still they sign their rights over. So it's a little less traumatic because they're knowingly agreeing that these people can now become the parents of their children. But then they are allowed to see their kids a decided amount of times. A lot of times it's around the holidays. They get like quarterly checkup, like
Reports.
updates.
Okay.
Yeah. A lot of times when it's older kids, it can be phone calls, like weekly or bi-weekly phone calls.
Okay.
And so with this case specifically, the PACA was brought in because the mom did still have a really good relationship with those kids. And that trust and love was built. And these parents saw that. And they like acknowledged that these kids need their mom just as much as they need a stable living situation. So yeah, it's really cool.
That is really cool. Like, talk about it takes a village. Like,
especially for kids, it takes a village.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh my gosh. Cool. Well, thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate that. We'll share some of those resources below. So definitely subscribe to keep that top of mind for you.
Yes.
Okay. You have a little joke from one of our kiddos that we'd like to hear?
I do.
Okay, well, our judge loves when children come into the courtroom. He always asks them to have a joke prepared. So, in honor of that tradition, we're going to listen and react to a joke from one of these kiddos.
Yes, okay.
What do you call a sad strawberry? A blueberry.
That's a good one. Okay.
That's so funny.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks for learning with us today. We are another episode down.
Another child's future up. Bye.